Ladies and gentlemen, welcome to the first ever episode of the Coal Country Podcast, where we discuss everything WVU sports. I'm your host, Ian McIntyre. Joining me on the show is Tyler Cobb, Matthew Howe, and Max Remy. Gentlemen, how are we?
I'm very happy to be here. How are you guys?
I'm chilling, man. Kizzy, how you doing?
I'm doing pretty good.
You good? Jit, behind the camera back there?
I'm doing pretty nice.
All right, we're all doing swell. So, this is the first ever episode, boys. How we feeling?
After
Feels like deja vu.
does y'all don't know, but we've attempted attempt number 1 didn't go so well, so this is attempt number 2 at pod 1.
Yeah, like he said, attempt number 1 was sort of a fail. I wouldn't call it an epic fail, but it wasn't how we were planning it up.
Didn't go according to plan.
Anyway, we decided to start this podcast because we go to a lot of football games. We go to a lot of basketball games, and we decided we wanted to get together and share our love of sports through a podcast. And we currently are at every single WVU football home game doing analysis. And we are part of an organization. We are not part of the Maniacs, by the way, but hint, we are part of an organization that is highly involved in sports. So that's kind of where our credibility comes from on these sources. And plus, we just watch a lot of college football apart from West Virginia.
Games, all the good games going on Saturday.
Yeah, dude. Speaking of the good games on Saturday,
Starting off hot.
it does not matter how much you know about the particulars of college football, but we all know this has been one of the craziest seasons in a long, long time. And that was exemplified more than ever on Saturday when Alabama went to Nashville, Tennessee to play Vanderbilt. Give me a little bit of a breakdown of your thoughts on that game, because we all know the outcome. Vanderbilt 40, Alabama 35.
Dude, I don't even know where to start. It was one, it seems like when an upset, especially a big upset like that happens, you expect something has gone wrong for the other team. Alabama must have thrown like 3 interceptions, had a fumble, a kick return for Vandy. It didn't seem like that because typically when there's a big upset like this, it seems like the team doing the upsetting is just outclassed, but they simply found a way to stay in it. That's not what this felt like at all. If you've watched the game, it just seemed like they were in it and they were at a caliber to compete with a team like Alabama. And, I mean, I guess they showed that the week before, too, because they stayed in a game until overtime with Missouri where they missed a field goal. But are we seeing some improvements from Vanderbilt?
We very well could be seeing some substantial improvements from Vanderbilt if they're competing with a team like Alabama. And speaking of the Alabama miscues, there were not very many. Jalen Milroe, 18 for 24 for 310 yards. So another statistically solid game. Did throw 1 pick.
Yeah,
but
that's what I'm saying. It didn't seem like there were a ton of Alabama miscues. It just Vandy was able to hold a lead on them the whole game. Alabama did not hold the lead for 1 second in this game.
Yeah, it was crazy. I personally only watched the fourth quarter, and it wasn't even that much of the fourth quarter, but just watching the way that Vanderbilt was able to move the ball downfield was crazy to me.
Well, so one of the keys to that game that I have written down was the crazy differential in time of possession. Mm-hmm. Vanderbilt had the ball for 42 minutes compared to Alabama 17. And that's why I think Vanderbilt won this game, even though Alabama was still able to score 35 points in 17 minutes, which is still pretty incredible. Vandy would not give their offense the ball back. They doubled their time of possession.
Yeah.
And that's impressive for a team that is known for not being very good.
Yeah. I was saying earlier, just talking to these guys, there are 2 Vanderbilts that I've seen this year. There's the Vanderbilt that has lost to Georgia State, and there is the Vanderbilt that came out and beat Alabama.
Yeah, think about that. Vanderbilt is 4 points away from tying the Georgia State game, a field goal away from tying the Missouri game. They win those 2 games, and you beat the number 1 team in the country. You're looking like a top 10 team.
It's a crazy prospect to me, man. When the AP poll came out this week on Sunday, I thought they'd be in there. But anyways, crazy game. Like I was talking about, Jalen Milroe, 18 for 24. Solid game on his end. Ryan Williams as well. another solid performance. 3 receptions for 82 yards and a tutty. He never fails to disappoint, especially after what we saw him do against Georgia.
Yeah, that was a key topic we talked about on the first attempt of the pod, how incredible Ryan Williams was in the game against Georgia.
17 years old.
Yeah.
17.
He's not slowing down, that's for sure.
Oh, my gosh, dude. It is crazy. Also, for Vanderbilt, Diego Pavia.
He's showing out. He, in my opinion, looked like the better quarterback on the field, which is crazy because Jalen Milroe was leading the Heisman race last week. So
Diego Pavia, 16 for 20. Only had 4 incompletions, 252 yards and 2 tutties.
big game, big game.
Crazy performance from Diego Pavia. Also, the funniest part to that whole game to me was the goalpost situation after they won the game. Not just the post-game interview, which you guys should go look up the post-game interview if you haven't seen it already. That was hilarious.
Yeah.
How do you guys feel about the penalties for tearing down the goalpost?
I heard that the penalties are levied against the schools based on how much money they make. Is that correct?
Well, so all I
think
know
that's
is
what
what
I
I
read.
said, because Arkansas and Vanderbilt both tore down the goalpost that weekend.
Okay.
And Arkansas was fined more. I think theirs was $250,000, whereas Vanderbilt's was only $100,000. And
Yeah,
it
I
was
saw
because
Vandy's was
Vanderbilt's was
$100,000.
like a first-time offense or whatever.
Yeah, I saw it too. And that goes back to their record. Their record against, was it top 5 SEC teams, was 0-60 going into Saturday.
It was just AP top
was-
5.
AP top 5.
It was just top 5 in general,
Okay.
0-60.
So-
But it was something crazy.
Yeah.
Infinitely better now.
Oh, my gosh. And I also saw that was the first time in history that AP top 5 SEC teams, 2 of them lost. Or was it 2
In
of
the
them?
same
or was
week,
it-
yeah, that's right.
in the same
Top
day.
5?
Yeah.
Mhm.
Because
this week? This
Tennessee
past week?
lost and Alabama lost.
Yeah. It was. We'll get into the upsets in the next segment, but there was a lot of upsets in the top 5. It was Tennessee and Alabama. I want to share this stat. I don't know if y'all knew this one. I don't remember how many times he played him, but Nick Saban, in his entire tenure at Alabama, only allowed Vandy to score a combined 13 points.
I saw this
That's
Kalen DeBoer has played him one time,
and allowed 40.
and he allowed 40 points. And so
it's not the same team though.
that's true, but that I want to ask the question: should Alabama's defense be concerned? Because the second half of last week versus Georgia and this entire game against Vanderbilt has not looked good.
I would say the Vanderbilt game doesn't look good. The Georgia game, I think, was Georgia looking good.
Just
In the
Georgia
second
being a
half.
great team
In the second
coming
half.
back.
So, 2 sides of the same coin, maybe. You didn't expect it with Vanderbilt. A stat that I saw was that the 8 times that Alabama has lost on the road, the opponent team has taken down the goalpost.
I mean that
And that goes back over 10 years.
That just goes to show the prestige that Alabama carries.
Yeah.
Yeah.
dude.
And that's pretty cool.
Yep. And that also explains why they slipped in the AP poll and not off entirely. I mean, besides the fact that their team is
Oh yeah.
solid, but
They've got some questions. Kalen DeBoer better figure them out.
yeah, I think he will. I honestly still have faith in this Alabama team.
I do too. I think I'm there with you. I think Vandy was just a hungry team that has looked improved. Diego Pavia is a dude.
Yeah.
He is going out there and playing. And so I think Vandy was just hungry. They were at home. It was one of those things where Alabama comes off a win against Georgia, who at the time I think was ranked number 2. And they let their guard down a little bit because you're like, this is only Vandy. I don't need to go and play my best. And they got to him.
Yep. I think Vanderbilt's a team we need to keep our eye on going forward for sure.
They could be a playoff breaker.
Could you imagine? Will they get an at-large bid? Will they win the SEC? Stretch.
I don't know about that now. They did still lose to Georgia State. We have to keep that in mind.
Yeah.
Well, they're 1-1 in conference? Is that right?
Yeah. And then the loss to Missouri looks worse even now after Missouri getting there.
Oh, man.
It wasn't 2
Stuff
overtimes
knocked
though.
out
So
on
They were number 9,
Missouri, yeah.
and now they're
Yeah.
21. Crazy. Speaking of another crazy game, Miami and Cal. College game day.
It was let me say this, they made a good pick this week. That was probably the best pick they've had. That was a close game, an incredible comeback from Miami, 25 points down. And this one stuck out the most. Let me get it up here.
Yeah, I'm pulling my stuff up too.
In the fourth quarter, Miami outscored Cal 21-3. Talk about some clutchness from old quarterback Cam Ward, who had an incredible game.
35 for 53, 437 yards and 2 touchdowns for Cam Ward.
I see 277 yards in the fourth quarter. That's crazy.
Yeah.
He had an entire game's worth of stats just in the fourth.
That's pretty crazy.
That's wild. And even last week when we recorded our first pod, I was questioning the college game day decision. I'm like, they're going to Cal to watch Miami, who probably just gained a lot of momentum for beating Virginia Tech in the fashion that they did. And they go to play a Cal team, which I would have said a week ago was worse than Virginia Tech.
I don't know if I would say they're worse. Their defense is what's keeping them going. Their defense was, I don't remember what it was ranked, but it was up towards the top of the country. And that's why I think the game day decided to go there is because Miami's got a high-powered offense. Cal's got a high-powered defense. Who's going to win? And it almost turned out that Cal won it.
Yeah, that was a wild game. We also got Xavier Restrepo, who I thought was going to go crazy against Virginia Tech in that game. And my phone keep buzzing. I thought that was going to be a crazy game. But Xavier Restrepo in this game, 7 receptions for 163 yards.
A game.
Wow.
No tutties, but 23.3 yards on average per reception. 163 yards. That's what you need if you're going to come back in a game down 25.
Yeah. And, again, the craziest part in that game for me was the fourth quarter.
Absolutely.
It wasn't even Cal holding the lead that they did at one point. It was the fact that Miami was able to rally back and put that kind of show on for a college game day matchup. How late did that game go to? Was that like a 1 a.m. East Coast time?
Oh, I don't remember. It was late. I do remember being up late watching that game. But I don't remember what time it was kicking off, though.
Well, the people who stayed up for that on the East Coast got their money's worth with that game, man.
For sure. Miami, though, they had to stay up pretty late to watch their team almost lose.
Dude, it's crazy.
Miami's got some questions, too. They've had back-to-back weeks where it was really close.
Yeah. Yeah. All right. Let's move on to the Big 12.
Oh, well, we got something first before that. Jill, why don't you scroll up there? Right there. Some of the upsets.
Aha. Okay.
It was hidden.
That part too.
See, I wasn't seeing it on the TV, America.
It was
I wasn't seeing it on the TV.
Dude, that ref, it was like last year or something. I think it was the Seahawks, and he was like, "Can you please be quiet? I'm talking to America here."
Dude, that's going to be me. That's literally me.
Is that going to be your saying?
I'm talking to America.
It was goated.
Dude. All right, so upsets all over the college football landscape. Again, crazy season. That
Might
can
I
remember.
ask? 2007 repeat.
We talked about this in the 2007 season and how it might be a touchy subject. But if you take away our bias towards that season, I would agree.
So far, I did see some 2007 things the other week. Not the other week, the other day. And it was crazy how many upsets there were. I think I looked at something and it said the number one team changed like 8 or 9 out of the 12 weeks, or it was like 13 or 14 weeks.
I think there were like 6 weeks in a row where the number 2 team lost.
Yeah. It was later on in the
something
season.
like that.
It's number 2.
So far, that's what we're saying. We've had Georgia number 1, Texas number 1, Alabama number 1, and then Alabama lose to Vanderbilt, and it's back to Texas.
Now, I would say, like, they've moved Texas around. Texas hasn't lost. You know,
That's true.
Alabama was when they were the top team. They had one of those losses that no one saw coming. The other losses have kind of been with the people you're kind of grouped nearby, though. So I don't think it's quite as crazy as like the 2007 season.
Not
was.
yet.
So like this,
Not yet.
yeah, not yet.
Well, I
This
mean, we're
week-
starting to see it.
This week
you know?
we have a chance. Like even Texas could drop because Ohio State plays Oregon this week on the road, and Texas plays Oklahoma. So if Texas goes in and struggles against Oklahoma but still wins, and Ohio State and just goes into Oregon and just thumps them, I think you might see Ohio State jump to the number 1 spot. Because now Ohio State has a better win under the belt because they beat Iowa.
I think it's whoever wins bigger that week.
I think if it's a similar margin, I think Texas will stay there. I think Ohio State's going to have to put something on tape, like nice on tape against Oregon to jump Texas.
You think they're a clear winner over Oregon?
Ohio State? No, I have Oregon winning.
Oh, okay. I like that pick.
You have Oregon winning against Ohio State?
Yes.
Let's go.
I don't know
That's
if that'll
what I got,
happen, but I
man.
like
That's what I got. I love the Ducks.
They have struggled early in the season, but I think they're finding some footing. Dylan Gabriel can pick it up a little bit, and Ohio State is walking into a crazy environment. I like Dan Lanning.
All I'm saying is Akron covered the spread against Ohio State.
Oh, my goodness.
That's where I'm going to leave that. That's where I'm going to leave
fair. That's fair. Good point, even.
Back to the upsets.
that. All right. We already covered Vandy and Alabama. Probably the craziest one of the weekend.
Yeah.
Syracuse beats number 25 UNLV after UNLV had their NIL situation.
Which I looked at the spread on that game, and I thought Syracuse would have been favored, even though UNLV was ranked. It was not the case. UNLV was still favored by, I think, 4.5. So it was technically still an upset.
Yeah. Yep. Syracuse, at least as far as I've been able to tell this season, has had a good offense.
They have Kyle McCord came in from Ohio State last year. Well, not last year, this year, but transferred after last year. He's done some pretty good things so far at Syracuse.
Yeah, definitely. All right, number 25 Texas A&M destroys Missouri. Number 9 Missouri.
I turned that game on, turned it right back off. I felt like Texas A&M from the gate was not going to let Missouri be in this game, and that's how it was. Just watching it. I mean, it was a beatdown.
It was a dismantling.
Yeah.
It was hard to watch if you're a Missouri fan for sure. SMU beats number 22 Louisville. I say Louisville.
That one I wasn't expecting.
I called that one.
This guy over here was.
I called that one.
He says he called it. Do we have proof?
I don't have proof.
We don't need proof.
Yeah. I mean, I if he called it, he called it.
SMU's had a great year so far.
I
Other
recall
than their loss to BYU.
Well, BYU's okay. BYU's having a hot year. Hot streak.
They are
at
having
least.
a good team, or having a good year.
I just recall SMU playing their first game of the season, and everybody's like, "Man, they're going to struggle in the ACC this year."
Yeah, and now
they're here.
5-1, I think, either 4-1 or 5-1. I don't remember.
I count 5.
5-1.
Look,
We'll go with it.
They're in the AP, so
Yeah.
if that says anything. Arkansas beats number 4 Tennessee 19-14.
I don't know how to feel about this one because
If it's a close game, it doesn't necessarily matter if it goes either way. You know what I mean? Like to me, if you think you're so much better than the other team, then it should never be at the point where it matters when it comes down to the line. You know what I mean?
So you would say if Tennessee had won 19-14 against Arkansas, then you would still hold Arkansas in a higher regard?
Yeah, exactly right.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Okay.
Because they did well against a team that's supposedly so much better than them. You know?
Yeah.
I mean, they held them to 14 points, and Tennessee up to this point in the year has been a high-powered offense.
They have. And Arkansas, to me, I don't know. I've just looked at Arkansas as, like a run-of-the-mill SEC team that if they go outside of the conference, they could be favored to win any game. So whenever I see them playing somebody like a Tennessee, it's not like I'm going to completely count them out.
Well, their schedule is so weird because they played Oklahoma State in week 2. In Oklahoma, they led most of the game, and Oklahoma State came back in the second half. But other than that, I mean, they've won versus UAB. That's to be expected. They beat Auburn. They lost a close one against Texas A&M, which I think is expected, especially now after Missouri beat the brakes off. What did I say? Texas A&M beats the brakes off Missouri.
Yeah,
Sorry. And now they've beaten Tennessee. So Arkansas can have a decent year.
They definitely, the door's still wide open for them.
Yeah, they got LSU next week. Not next week. They have a bye next week. We got LSU after that.
Well, still, that's looking even better for Arkansas. Have a week to prepare.
And LSU's got a tough game against Ole Miss this week, so Arkansas, that's setting up nicely for them.
Yeah. This one was very surprising to me, especially pre-game. Looking at the sports books and the spread. Washington beats Michigan 27-17.
Revenge. Beat him in the Natty.
Yep.
Doesn't feel quite the same. You don't get the trophy, but I don't think I was necessarily surprised by it. I was a little surprised that they. I don't know. I think I would have picked Michigan. I don't remember talking about this game too much beforehand, but at the same time, Michigan has looked a little sketchy this year, and Washington has looked better than we expected.
I would say Washington has looked better than I thought they were going to look because they lost something like 72% of their production.
They lost a lot.
Coming into this year, and I really didn't expect them to be that much of a contender in the Big Ten. But then they come out and beat Michigan, who was ranked number 10, which we will have more on Michigan later when we talk about top 25s. And then lastly, USC, number 11 USC, loses to a Minnesota team.
I didn't see this one coming at all.
Nope.
Miller Moss has been a little inconsistent, but I still thought that USC would beat Minnesota. Was it at USC too?
Was it at USC? It wouldn't surprise me if it was at USC. I think it was at Minnesota, though. I think.
Yeah, so it was at Minnesota.
It was at
never
Minnesota.
Mind. So, but still, just a weird one. USC drops to 3-2. That is not good.
It is a really weird one, especially whenever I was watching the Minnesota-North Carolina matchup at the beginning of the season. It was like a field goal fest.
Yeah.
It was crazy. And they come out and beat a USC who was supposed to have a super high-powered offense, and I think they still do to a degree. But then, Minnesota, out of nowhere, Kizzy was saying, I did not expect USC to lose, at least in that fashion, especially.
Just the teams you expected this week to score a lot of points. USC, Tennessee, they just didn't. That offense was shut down.
Yep, I agree. Again, it just seems like in college football, everything's up in the air. You really don't know which direction things are going.
2007.
Oh my gosh. And speaking of misdirection, the Big 12 has had some misdirection up to this point in the season. And you could even say that about West Virginia at certain points. But the league as a whole, you have Utah, Oklahoma State, and Kansas State at the top.
Well, they were supposed to be.
Yep.
At the beginning, that's who everybody thought was, okay, there's your 1, 2, 3. Utah has the highest chance to go undefeated with their schedule. Already have a loss. And are they the top? Like, a lot of it can be chalked up to, okay, Cam Rising is injured. But when is he not? He was basically all of last year. He has got to find a way to stay on the field. Oklahoma State is bottom of the barrel at this point. Mike Gundy has got to find a way to turn it around. And then Kansas State is still in the race, but that loss to BYU, man, I can't get over it.
We got to have Avery Johnson throwing the football.
A lot better.
Yeah, a lot better. More accurate clip. I would still say Utah and Kansas State are in the conversation for the top of the league, but Oklahoma State is, in my opinion, now down with the Houstons and the Kansases of the league. Kansas 1-5 is wild to me. Anyway, Arizona was upset at home against the Texas Tech team.
Yeah, I think after beating Utah too on the road, like not something you expected. And I told y'all last week that I thought Texas Tech was a little overrated and their record was speaking too much for them. But
yeah,
maybe I was wrong.
I mean, I think we were wrong because you look, Texas Tech is leading the Big 12 right now.
They are. I mean, technically, that's just because they've played the most conference games. But I mean, they're 3-0 in conference play.
Yeah.
Either 4-1 or 5-1 on the year. I don't remember what it is. Texas Tech is
5-1 overall right now.
They're solidly in the conversation.
They are now, and I wouldn't have said that at the beginning of the year.
No,
not with Texas Tech up there. However, I think we can all agree that Iowa State is looking like the team to beat in the conference. They're 5-0. And they're coming to play us in Morgantown night game. That one could go either way realistically.
Which is crazy because and I think even they played Houston 2 weeks ago, I think, and Houston held them to 20 points. Like, I know it seemed, and Houston didn't score, so it kind of seemed like Iowa State was the clear winner of that game, which, I mean, they were, but at the same point, you probably should have blown Houston out if you're the leading member of the conference, but
Well,
you didn't. And so, how far is the spread stretch between the top of the Big 12 and the bottom of the Big 12?
how are
20
you supposed to
apparently.
define that when you've had these games this year? How are you supposed to define
Well,
this realistic point
I would have thought it
differential?
was 20, but can we say that Houston is the bottom of the Big 12 now?
No.
They're
With the way
not
that
currently.
they just beat TCU?
Oklahoma State, Baylor, and Kansas are 0-3 in conference play.
I think Kansas and Oklahoma State are at the bottom.
No, but see, I think Oklahoma State and Kansas would beat Baylor and Houston
On paper.
on paper.
This is the thing about this season.
we
man.
got
On
to settle it
paper.
on the field, baby.
Oh my gosh. Anyway, Iowa State coming in with solid offense, solid defense. And for our matchup in particular, we could say our defense has gotten better. Our run game is there, and our offense has definitely improved since our Penn State outing to begin the season. So that's obviously going to be a game to watch. Arizona State and Texas Tech are firmly in the race. We were talking about Texas Tech, but we haven't mentioned Arizona State yet.
Did you expect Arizona State to be in this?
Not really.
I will answer for you. No.
I didn't expect them to be where they are, but I didn't expect them to be Kansas level either.
Yeah, no.
So-
At preseason, I think I don't know how many wins I gave them when I predicted all the games, but I know they were either second or third to last in the Big 12. Not the case. What are the standings right now? Can you pull the standings back up?
Yep.
They come back in a thriller against Kansas, and man, they're in the race.
Arizona State.
That's all I had to say. Like, you don't expect it. This is a
Arizona State. is in
weird
the
season,
race.
man.
Yeah,
Weird
dude.
season.
Yeah, dude. UCF too. UCF goes into the swamp this past weekend on our first pod. All of us except this guy right here.
Heck yeah, baby. I know ball.
We all predicted UCF would win. You know, they get sort of embarrassed by Colorado at home, and you would think that they go and play an in-state rival, and they would at least show up, if not win the game. And I thought they were going to win the game. Matt thought they were going to win the game, and they didn't.
Nope.
Florida pulled it out, even though they're sort of middle of the pack, searching for answers SEC team.
Yep.
And UCF still lost. So I think UCF was overrated from the get-go, just like we were to a certain extent.
Yep.
I feel like they were sort of put in this upper echelon because of R.J. Harvey and KJ Jefferson. And
I told y'all boys last week, I don't care how good UCF is in the Big 12, they are outclassed by a Florida team that although is middle of the pack in the SEC, is facing a tough schedule. Okay.
Very tough schedule.
The extremely tough schedule that Florida is facing and has to face going forward is going to overshadow by far the amount of talent on that Florida team. I'm here to tell you right now, I don't care how bad Florida's record is at the end of the season, it is not what they are. Florida State outclasses UCF by far.
okay, now
Not
seeing
Florida
that,
State. Florida State's.
oh well,
That's
They-
I know what you meant.
They
I
ain't
didn't.
beating nobody in the Big 12.
I did not hear the state part, so that's why
I said Florida State on accident. Florida,
I meant what you knew.
the Gators.
you put Florida in the Big 12.
Top 5 team.
Yeah, definitely. SEC is going to be a struggle for a team like Florida.
Which is, speaking bad on Big 12, we shouldn't be doing that. But
Well, yeah. Big 12 is super competitive, though. You could argue we're the most competitive league.
Josh Pate says it's America's conference.
I'll take it.
It is, baby.
I'll take it. All right, now, speaking of our rankings, talking about where teams in the Big 12 land in the standings, we have made our own top 25 list. So
I made this. Me and Matt made this, and we're going to kind of discuss.
We had some disagreements.
We
want
did.
to talk about it.
We'll talk about it, and we can change some things if need be.
and
So-
this is going in the video, too, right? Audience is going to be able to see this.
I'll screen record us
We'll throw her
switching
up
them
on there.
around, and we'll put her in the video so y'all can see what we're doing
Heck yeah.
as we're going. Start at the top. I think that should
All right.
be the easiest.
Yeah, so number one, we got Texas.
I think that's consensus.
I like that.
Number 2, Ohio State.
Also consensus.
Number 3, Oregon. Number 4, Penn State. Number 5, Miami Hurricanes. All right. I'm just going to go down the full list.
We'll go down
here.
the list.
Yeah.
yeah.
Number 6, Alabama. Number 7, Georgia. Number 8, LSU. Ole Miss 9, Tennessee 10. BYU 11, Iowa State 12, Notre Dame 13, A&M 14, Clemson 15, K-State 16, Oklahoma, Indiana, Pitt, SMU 20th, Illinois, Boise State, heck of a team, Utah, Missouri, Nebraska rounding out the top 25. So
It gets muddy down towards the bottom.
it kind of does.
It's tough
It's muddy.
to judge. So, where is y'all's first disagreement? I know you said earlier that the top 4 you agree with.
I like the top 4.
5 is where it gets a little
5
interesting.
is up for discussion here.
And I have seen all over Twitter and Instagram that Penn State should not be above Georgia or Alabama, even though I think they should be. Penn State doesn't have a loss.
I agree with that. I think Penn State's a top 5 team.
But
right now.
BYU doesn't have a loss.
But BYU hasn't played the caliber of teams
But are we putting
that Penn State has.
you have to it's multi-factor. You can't just say undefeated teams up top.
Okay,
That's why the AP
Army-
has a point system.
That's what I'm
I
saying.
agree.
So
but
how
I'm
do you want to
saying-
weight? How do you want to weight being undefeated
So-
versus who you've lost to?
Depends
in
on
my-
the caliber of
so-
team you play.
In my
It's-
opinion, Georgia's lost to Alabama, who's a top tier team.
That just lost to Vandy.
Alabama has lost to Vanderbilt.
I put Georgia above Alabama.
I'm with you.
I, sitting here thinking about it, I'm not going to say I disagree with you because it was at Alabama.
It was.
And that I do think that played a huge factor. Once Alabama got going, it was over. So
Well, it wasn't.
Georgia
if you watch the game.
is
Georgia's number 5 for me.
you
I like-
think
I like
Georgia's
Georgia 5.
I guess I'm getting outweighed.
I would put Georgia 5.
Yeah, so
Move
it
up
is-
to the
Georgia
next
up-
tier, and then move Miami down to
Oh, so I don't
6th
agree
there.
with that.
So where do you want Miami?
I want
Georgia.
Miami 5. Miami is 5.
No.
They have high
Didn't
expectations.
you just say Georgia 5?
Yeah,
No,
you just said you got outvoted.
I said Georgia over Alabama, which is what we were discussing.
They're over
Okay.
Miami too.
That's my
Why-
opinion
no,
as
why-
well.
My question is why? What has Georgia done to deserve to be over Miami besides lose to Alabama? And
Because
beat
they've-
some teams that they were expected to beat.
Well, they were expected to beat everybody, right? Pretty much.
Hey,
And the only
I don't
team they've
remember the
lost
spread on
to-
Alabama Georgia game.
Is who was the
Alabama.
number 1 after the game.
But you have to think about it this too: is Alabama as good as we thought they were? Because they just lost to Vandy.
That's a great question.
Is Georgia? Did Georgia lose to a potential top team in the country, or did they lose to a fraud? I'm not calling Alabama a fraud.
I'm not calling Alabama a fraud. I'm still calling Alabama legit. This is a fork in the road for them. My case for Georgia over Miami is the caliber of team and the close games involved.
Exactly.
So we look at Miami having a close game with Virginia Tech, and we also look at Miami having a close game against Cal. Georgia has a close game against Alabama, and maybe you could count the Kentucky game too. But I would put a Kentucky team up against Cal, or
I think Cal would beat Kentucky.
you think Cal would beat Kentucky?
Well, maybe not. It'd be a close game. I think it'd be a close game. My point is, Georgia and Alabama, they are and Miami, they are all consensus top 10 teams.
Sure.
If you're all in a consensus top 10 team, you're all expected to perform well. If one of you has a loss and one of you does not, that moves the people who do not have a loss up. So your argument for BYU, yes, BYU is undefeated. They should be above Georgia because Georgia has a loss. But no, because
was devil's
BYU is
advocate.
yeah, I know. But,
So do you
but
want-
BYU shouldn't be above them because they're not expected to be at the caliber that Georgia is. In a head-to-head
I agree.
matchup, BYU is never beating Georgia 100 times out of 100.
Okay.
Maybe.
I would not.
Yeah, I would say
Well,
that. You go to
okay.
BYU
Not
at
triple
nighttime.
digits.
So if we're playing by that logic, it's the fact that Miami is undefeated and Georgia has a loss.
But I think
And that Miami is expected to be at a top tier level. They have Cam Ward, they have a Heisman candidate, they have an explosive offense, a good defense. They are expected to be a top 10 caliber team, and they haven't lost.
Well,
Yes,
my question then, let's say you're a coach of a team. Would you rather have a very close win over Virginia Tech in a Hail Mary that could have gone either way and maybe should have gone the other way? Or would you rather lose very closely with Alabama?
I'd take the win all day long.
I agree.
Wins
in-
mean more.
In a ranking system, when you say, like I was saying earlier, when you walk in expecting to win and the game looks embarrassing and you just barely come out and the whole world's on fire about it,
Well, I mean, I don't disagree, but again, that's why we're saying that BYU isn't above Georgia. BYU,
Right, but they haven't had
although
that-
undefeated,
that situation isn't
is
there.
not expected to be at that level. Whereas Miami, they are expected to be at that level. Although close games, they have won said games.
What do you think, Ian?
Look, this logic, I'm not opposed to this logic of wins matter more than anything.
I agree.
My thing is, okay, Miami's supposed to prove that they are cream of the crop in college football. Who will they play for the rest of the season in the ACC?
Louisville is their toughest opponent at this point. I don't think they play Clemson
We aren't going to get to see who Miami truly is
until the playoffs.
So
But,
it's
I mean,
it is a complete hypothetical when you think by that logic. But then again, if Miami proceeds to go 12-0,
They play Florida State. Probably gonna lose.
Florida
Or
State's
win.
bottom 25 as far as I'm
That's
concerned.
crazy. Georgia Tech and Syracuse on the road could be interesting, but other than that, it's Louisville. This is the toughest game they have left.
Okay.
But again, you see the way Cam Ward has looked. You've seen the way Xavier Restrepo has looked. You've seen the way that offense and defense have looked. Although close games against Virginia Tech and Cal, they have won. Winning is what matters when you are expected to be a top 10 team.
Wouldn't you think you would have a better showing, is what I'm saying.
Yes.
You would,
I
but
agree,
I
but
think
by
having
that
a good
logic, we
showing-
got to keep him there.
But when
See,
you
I
expect
think I
Alabama
disagree.
to beat Vanderbilt,
Yeah, I would expect Alabama to beat Vanderbilt.
and
What I'm
that's-
saying
okay,
is,
that's
even if
true.
they had won, if Alabama had won by 5, that's still not a good showing by them.
But they
great
won.
great on
I
Vanderbilt.
agree, and Alabama would have moved down, and Texas probably would have been the number 1 team, or Ohio State. But Alabama lost, so they moved down to 7. Miami goes up because
don't you
they
think
won.
We would have moved them. I say we. They would go down even if they had only won by 5.
We're staying on Miami forever. We've just got to make a decision.
Yeah, I think
Miami stays because they have a 5-0 record. They are expected to be a top 10 team. That's what they should be.
I think they stay.
I guess they stay.
Okay.
Matt disagrees, but
Fair enough.
I do, but
2v1.
they're definitely
Look-
right in there.
Looking
So,
down the list of the rest of the top 10, I don't see an issue there.
We've got to speed it up a little bit
Yeah.
because that one took
Um,
forever.
Yeah, it did. Next one, I think Iowa State's above BYU. I think if you put these two,
So we're agreeing on LSU, Ole Miss, and Tennessee.
yeah,
Okay, good.
I'm agreeing on them. I think Iowa State is in front of BYU. I think if those two teams play each other, Iowa State comes out homer. If it's a home game for BYU, Iowa State wins. If it's in Iowa State, well, if it's at Iowa State wins.
The reason I gave BYU the edge is because BYU currently has a way more dominant win over a current top 25 team in Kansas State, whereas Iowa State's best win is against Iowa, who is no longer ranked in the top 10. Or
Okay.
25, sorry. So I gave BYU a slight edge, and I think BYU has played somebody else. SMU. They also beat SMU.
Okay.
So BYU has 2 top 25 wins. Iowa State only has 1. I think BYU is just slightly edge. In a head-to-head, I think Iowa State wins.
Yeah.
But
That's my only problem with it, because when you talk about the Kansas State win, it makes sense. But yeah, I think Iowa State will win that head-to-head matchup. Looking at the rest of it, Clemson's come back on after their Georgia loss. They're looking really good. A&M shot up there for sure with that Missouri win.
I considered putting A&M above Notre Dame, but Notre Dame did beat them in the head-to-head. So I felt like even though that they had that loss to Northern Illinois,
I will say, how important is the head-to-head? Because we put Georgia above Alabama.
I disagree with that.
Okay.
But you all 2v1 me on Georgia above Alabama.
Okay. We'll let us have that one.
I think right now Notre Dame should be above A&M.
I can get behind that.
Fair enough. Because besides the Northern Illinois game, they've looked good.
Yeah.
So
I think this is where it gets really muddy.
Yeah.
Like 16 through 25.
it's very weird to me, these bottom two tiers. So you got K-State up there. I think K-State belongs
Yeah.
at 16. Indiana, yeah. I'm high on Indiana.
They're 6-0.
First bowl eligible team.
Like they are undefeated, but they're not expected to be that, so I didn't rank them as high. I think they'll lose a game sooner or later. I don't know when their first huge big test is, but it was so weird to rank them because do you put them as an undefeated team above Kansas State? Honestly, now that I'm looking at it, I think you might. I'm going to look at their schedule real quick.
Yeah, Indiana's a weird one. Pitt's a weird one.
Yeah,
Because they're undefeated.
but not played too many great teams. That Indiana beat FIU expected.
Yep.
Western Illinois, I think that is
Expected.
Blew out UCLA on the road.
Expected to win, but blew them out.
Yeah. Blew out Charlotte at home. Blew out Maryland at home. Not really. It was a 14-point win.
Okay.
And then they pretty handedly beat Northwestern on the road. So maybe
And their upcoming games: Nebraska, Washington.
there's an argument to be made for Indiana above Oklahoma and Kansas State.
There is an argument to be made there.
And maybe even Clemson. Like, are we gonna say that? 'Cause
I
if you think about it, who has Clemson beat that is that high of a caliber?
don't know, man.
I mean, they had their
Utah down there is kind of muddy too, but
yeah, like I said, it gets muddy.
Boise State, Ashton Jeanty is my Heisman pick
Absolutely.
for sure.
Like outside of NC State, who has looked really questionable this year, and Florida State, who is bottom of the barrel this year, who has Clemson beat? I'm making a motion. I think we move Indiana up to 15 and move everybody down one.
I'm okay with it.
I wonder if Kansas State's wins are higher quality than Indiana's.
Who have they beat?
Arizona, who
Is
knocked
questionable,
off Utah, but still,
but
just
just got beat at home by Texas Tech.
yeah. But I mean, Texas Tech's a solid team. We have
Okay.
them above Kansas State too.
Fair enough.
Really, the stain on their schedule is the BYU, like getting crushed by BYU.
I don't think they have a signature win.
No,
They struggled against Tulane. They did handily beat Arizona and Oklahoma State, but those are two teams that have underperformed up to this year. Their best win is probably the Arizona game.
yeah, I think so.
But they've also, like I said, they got blown out by BYU. So I think Indiana should move.
I
up
think
3.
Indiana's above Kansas State
Oklahoma.
by that logic. They're
So-
above Kansas State and Oklahoma. Now, are they where Clemson is? Are they 15?
I think they are.
Okay.
Because, like I said, Clemson hasn't beaten. They're expected to be there, and Clemson has looked good after their Georgia loss.
Yeah.
But I think, other than outside of NC State and Florida State, Clemson hasn't beaten anybody.
Yep.
So, Indiana, they're in 18 right now. They go up to where Clemson is, and everybody moves down one.
There you go.
I like it.
All right. Pitt over SMU. I think we can agree on that.
Yeah, undefeated,
Mm,
Power 5,
I like SMU.
4. Power
That's
4.
just me though.
You're a Southern Methodist lover.
Yeah.
You are a Southern Methodist lover. I mean, who can blame you, though? We love Rutgers.
I think this is correct. And like you said, it gets muddy towards the bottom, so it's
Yeah.
kind of hard to tell. Like, Illinois over Boise State is kind of just whoever you
So-so.
think is better. Utah and Missouri, I almost thought about taking Missouri out because they lost handedly
Yeah.
to Texas A&M, and outside of that, have not beaten anybody. They struggled against Vanderbilt. There's another team that they struggled again that I cannot think of right now. Oh no!
Because he's struggling.
Yeah.
He got to find it.
So yeah, they struggled against Vanderbilt, and then they struggled against Boston College. Who,
Man.
since that win against Florida State, which turns out to not have been as great of a win. So, Missouri there's an argument to take Missouri out. Who would you have in front of them? I don't know. It's that's again just kind of muddy.
I'll say one thing. It wouldn't be Michigan.
Nah,
It wouldn't be
Michigan is
Michigan.
not allowed in my list after losing to who'd they lose to? Texas and
Washington. Yeah.
I'd take Nebraska, Missouri over them any day.
Man, I wish Rutgers would have won that Nebraska game.
I think this is a solid list, given what has happened and the craziness of last week.
Okay. I think we can all agree on this top 25 list then. We're all good to go.
It's
Just-
solid. It's solid.
All right.
I think
Yeah,
it's
you
there's
still got a little bit.
Definitely some disagreements, which is going to be because this is subjective. but-
Yeah.
Well, I don't disagree with anything that we've said.
Okay.
So.
Okay.
Yeah, Jake,
I
go
feel like it
ahead and
makes
move
sense.
back.
He just is
to the,
biased
there we
towards
go.
SMU, man.
It's not bias. I just have a
What
different
is happening?
different point system. maybe.
Oh my goodness.
The TV going crazy.
Our favorite part of the show,
The Big 12 pick
where we bring in
the Jitster.
producer Jit. What's going on?
How are we all doing tonight?
You're a little loud there, old buddy.
I know, I'm just loud. I'm excited.
All
We're doing
right.
good, man.
We're excited.
You're the
that
vibe pick.
excited.
You're the vibe pick. We're excited to have you on and have you give us your opinion on these games. So these are the Big 12 pick'ems, where we digest and pick our Big 12 matchups for the week. So first one we have listed, number 16, Utah at Arizona State. Utah had a bye week last week. Arizona State beat Kansas 35-31. Like we were talking about before, Arizona State sort of proven themselves to be in the Big 12 discussion. And both teams are 4-1. So, me personally, I would pick Utah to come in and do what they need to do. Arizona State winning. I mean, honestly, I would like to see either team win this game.
Yeah.
I really would like to see either team win this game. And if I'm thinking logically, I would have to go Utah. But what do you got?
That's where you're wrong. Logic has no place in college football. We saw it last week. Give me the Sun Devils.
Okay. What do we think, Matt?
It's gonna be hot down there.
I mean, maybe. It
It's
is
gonna be-
October.
It's gonna be hot.
Whereas it was hot in
It's
in
gonna be so
Oklahoma
hot down
for
there.
the.
It's been hot in Morgantown in October so
That's
far,
true.
man.
I think Utah's gonna go in there and they're gonna boil, and I think Arizona State's gonna take them.
That's a weird way to pick it, but I'm not against it.
Dude, that sounds like the Jit pick, which is coming up right now.
What are the
That's a Jit
vibes?
pick.
What are the vibes telling you, Jit?
Well, it's not really the vibes. They're telling me this right today, you know. My own father went to Utah. He was a football player there.
Dan Remy.
Dan Remy.
We'll get him on the show.
Got
sooner
the
or
Remy
later.
Bowl hat on today. All I'm gonna say is I can't betray Utah for
Fair
Dan
enough.
Remy.
That's a smart pick.
Fair
Smart
enough.
pick.
Next week, if Arizona State beats Utah, Arizona State will be ranked.
Oh,
And
yeah.
confirmed a top 5 team in the Big 12 and be firmly more than they are now in the
Definitely, I agree. All right, next game we got Cincinnati in Orlando to play UCF. Cincinnati was on a bye week last week. UCF lost to Florida, like we talked about earlier, and both teams in this matchup are 3-2.
Yep.
Cincinnati, I think we picked a little low in the league initially, and UCF we picked a little high in the league initially, preseason. Me personally, looking at this matchup, for me it's harder to pick than Utah and Arizona State, but I might pick Cincinnati. I might pick Cincinnati in this game. I feel like UCF is just on a bad trend right now. And then again, maybe me saying this will change it because last week, I thought UCF was going to come back from their Colorado loss and beat Florida. But, I feel like Cincinnati might have this one.
So, last week I didn't pick UCF to have a comeback game because they were playing in the swamp against an SEC opponent who is underrated despite what their record is. This is the type of comeback game that UCF needs at home against the middle of the pack Big 12 to lower tier Big 12 team. I think UCF gets back on the track.
I like Cincy here.
Okay.
I like UCF. I think they're a solid team. I think Cincinnati has done well against better teams than UCF has played. So I think the records are what they are, but I think Cincinnati's had a better showing throughout the season so far.
This is a good
that's my
matchup.
place.
Old American Conference.
It should be a very
yeah,
decent
good game.
It should be a decent game.
What's the Jit pick?
So thinking about this, I know I had a live commentary on the game with UCF and Florida. I had some live commentary from people at that game, but I particularly think that UCF can pull it through because I don't know, but this is my vibe pick of the day. Okay, this is my vibe. This is the vibe pick. Okay.
Okay.
He's from Florida, if you didn't know. So
Yes,
could
I
be
am
some
from Florida, and I
biases.
have friends in all the different colleges there. But I'm really feeling UCF today. That's my pick.
Feeling UCF. So another split right down the middle.
Yep, 2-2.
Yeah, 2-2. All right, Arizona goes to BYU, who's ranked number 14. Last week, Arizona lost at home to Texas Tech, and they fall to 3-2. BYU was on a bye week and still 5-0. I think Arizona is sort of in a weird place right now with the disgruntled standings of college football as a whole. Arizona is another victim of that. I feel like they're very inconsistent. Their offense can go for 500 yards or get held to 200 yards. It depends on the day. But BYU up to this point has looked rock solid, and I feel like in Utah, BYU pulls it out.
I think I'm with you. BYU is a different place to play. They have an incredible atmosphere, and on a 5-0 streak, it's going to be even crazier. The only thing that is like keeping me from almost picking Arizona, it is not a night game from BYU. 4 p.m. kickoff. It will technically bleed into the night. So probably third and fourth quarter will be getting down to nighttime, but BYU is a different team at night, at home. But I still think they win this one in advance to 6-0, which how about a start for BYU if they start 6-0?
Crazy. What you got for us, Matt?
I think BYU should handily win this game.
We got 3. We got 3 for the same team now.
This could be the only consensus.
If you want to really simplify it, which is what I'm doing, BYU smushed K-State. K-State smushed Arizona.
He's using logic. That logic does not work.
And if you go by the point,
logic.
if they go by the point differential,
West Virginia is a better team than Tennessee because West Virginia beat Oklahoma State, who beat Arkansas, who beat Tennessee.
yes, that's if you simplify it. So obviously,
Simplify.
multi-factor, right? It's football. We'll see what happens. Hopefully, it's a good game. But I think I like BYU here.
Georgia State's better than Alabama at this point. Georgia State beats Vanderbilt, who beats Alabama. Anyway, all 3 of us up to this point are for BYU. What's the legit pick on this game?
I believe that the legit pick on this game. I'm sorry guys, but I think I'm gonna go full bandwagon on this one. I am feeling BYU. I'm using logic and reason for this one.
See, as a Utah fan, you should hate BYU.
This is true.
I should, but
He's a casual.
Even though I'm Dan Remy's son, I'm still my own person.
Okay, fair enough. Still Utah.
Yep, still Utah.
Still Utah.
So we've got a consensus BYU across the
Consensus BYU.
board. I feel like this is going to be the one we're wrong on now. I think
man.
Arizona's
Could
going
be.
to play.
I need that candy bar.
Also, I apologize, America. I said BYU versus Alabama before the legit pick.
Did
it's
you?
Arizona. Yeah.
I missed
I
that.
caught myself. I apologize, America.
Sorry, America.
I'm sorry, America.
Who would win that game though?
BYU, Alabama. Give me BYU.
Give me BYU.
Give me BYU to win that one, dude. That would probably be consensus.
That'd be an awesome game to
Yeah,
watch,
dude.
wouldn't it?
All right, Kansas State, number 18, Kansas State rolls into Boulder, Colorado. Both teams were on a bye last week, so they're going to have fresh legs underneath of them. Going into Colorado, I feel like Kansas State wins this game. Using logic is obviously one way that you can look at this game, which is half and half of what I'm doing, but I'm also looking at momentum.
Yep.
I feel like Colorado they have to give something up. There's a point where they're going to expose themselves as being mid. And I think they're mid. Like Travis Hunter, insane. Shedeur Sanders, great. But I don't believe in the team collective to go to the long haul. I think Kansas State pulls this one out. I think Avery Johnson improves in the pass game. Like we said at the beginning of the show, he just needs a more consistent offensive structure, and I think he starts with Colorado, and they get this road win.
This was the toughest one out of all of them to pick. Both teams, I think both teams are 4-1. Is that right?
Yeah.
I don't know, man. They've both had their struggles. I think Colorado has started a little bit better than what most would have expected. Kansas State, I think most people were expecting to be Probably 5-1 at this point, especially not a loss to BYU. But I am going to go Kansas State. Their running game, I really like DJ Giddens and Avery Johnson's legs. Avery Johnson, he's got to find something through the air, but I think, like you said, they can do that this week against Colorado. But they've got to find a way to stop Shador Sanders and Travis Hunter, which is not an easy task.
It's not.
I think I'm with you there. I like Kansas State here. Just a solid all-around team. Now, was the BYU game, was that a fluke? Maybe. But other than that, they've had a really solid season, put up really high, relatively high points on offense, and kept everyone else relatively low scoring. I don't know. I think they'll get over there and have a good time, maybe.
All right, Jit, you're up.
I'd say me personally, I feel like Colorado has a chance. You know?
Okay.
They're both getting off a bye, but it's their home turf. What time is this game at?
10:15.
Great question. Oh,
PM.
10:15.
10:15 p.m.
Eastern time, right?
I believe so.
So it'd be
It's still nighttime for them.
It'd be
8:15 kickoff.
8:15 Mountain Time.
Yeah. So still light.
It's a
That's
night
still
game.
a night game.
Yeah.
I feel like even though it's a night game, home turf, Colorado.
I like
Okay.
the Jit pick here
It's a good pick.
You like the Jit pick, but you pick Kansas State.
because I think Kansas State will win. But hey, I like what Jit's
I do.
saying.
Yeah,
man.
I'm with him.
That's fair. That's fair. I will say, America,
America.
you will not get to see our first podcast recording, but Jit has improved in his pickings and his logics.
Last week was all vibes. This week
We have one vibe.
he's improving. So is the guy over here. This casual.
I'm not a cash. You're a cash.
I'm so
No.
proud of you guys. I'm so proud of you. Making improvements.
I love
All right.
ball. I'm a big ball knower.
One vibe per cast.
Yes.
All right. Before we move on to West Virginia versus Iowa State and our pick for that, let's flash back to Saturday and look at the Oklahoma State game. So, final score, obviously, 38 West Virginia, 14 Oklahoma State in Stillwater. Let me pull up my stats for this. While I do that, can you go ahead and talk a little bit about this?
Yeah, so because of the organization we're in, wink, wink, we did not get to watch this game. But I did rewatch the full tape, and I was not expecting it whatsoever. Second half looked a little iffy. A lot of the second and third string guys were playing, which is good. They need to get some minutes. But that first half, a dominant performance, especially on the ground.
Absolutely.
The ground game was incredible.
Yep, the ground game stats I have here, 65 carries for West Virginia, which is a school record.
I thought it
Jaheim
was the
White
second
with
most.
19 carries for 158 yards and a touchdown. That's awesome.
It's crazy.
Which we were all saying, like, we need Jaheim White to have a breakout game. He's kind of been a little under the radar for the first couple weeks, and bam,
Yeah.
there he is.
I'm just going to rattle off some stats here. I'm going to start with Oklahoma State. I only got two players from Oklahoma State for this stat line. Alan Bowman, starting quarterback, 10 for 19 on 116 yards passing. Only 116 yards. One touchdown and 2 picks. Was replaced later in the game by Garrett Rangel. Is that how you pronounce his last name? Rangel.
Yep.
Okay. He came in for Bowman.
He started the game 2 years ago against West Virginia in Stillwater. So
And we won that game.
yeah,
Yep. That's awesome. I didn't know that. And then you look at Ollie Gordon. Ollie Gordon, 13 carries for 50 yards. You did see him in the second half of the game, especially not get many touches, if not
he
any
was
touches
hurt.
at
He was
all.
injured.
There was an injury scare there.
Yeah.
I saw in the fourth quarter he was sort of walking up and down the sideline with his helmet on. He was ready to go.
Did you guys hear? Which I don't know if you guys have watched the full tape or not. There was an announcer who, after Ollie Gordon went out with his injury, said that he would consider sitting out the rest of the season because at this point his future in the NFL is more important than an Oklahoma State team that's likely not going to be competing for a Big 12
I saw
championship.
that.
That's
I feel like
crazy.
I feel like that's a fair assessment.
But you don't say that as an announcer.
You don't-
No,
Yeah.
I agree. I agree entirely. you're playing college football. It's all about the college football. But as a player in that moment, you got to think about your career and the rest of your life. And if you're giving it your all for a team that you're not getting out what you put in, especially if you're risk averse, you don't want to go in there and get yourself hurt and mess up something that you definitely deserve, which could be an NFL career. So.
But
I agree with the sentiment.
Oklahoma
Absolutely,
State-
I would not say that
But
as an
at the
announcer.
same time, you have to look at it as Oklahoma State, after losing to South Alabama last year, turned it around and went on to the Big 12 championship. Let's say they turn it around again, win out, go 9-3. Let's say West Virginia and Kansas State are firmly in conversation for the Big 12 championship. I don't think who was there? And Utah. Three of the games they lost could be against teams that are firmly in talks for the Big 12 championship. You go 9-3. I mean, you're still right there in the conversation for a potential auto bid. I doubt a Big 12 team that goes 9-3 is getting an auto bid.
Mm-hmm.
But at the same time, you're still right there. So why not continue? Ollie Gordon is a great back. They have guys on the team that are great. Rashad Owens and Brendan Presley are some of the best receivers in the Big 12. I think, that was completely ridiculous of the announcer to say that.
Yeah,
I agree. All right, now I'm going to start rattling off some West Virginia player stats here. We've already discussed a few of them, but I'm going to read them off still anyway. Garrett Green, even though he missed a portion of the game, Garrett Green was 9 for 15 and 159 yards through the air. On the ground, 10 carries for 86 yards and a touchdown. Like I said, he had a little bit of an injury situation where Nico Marchiol came in. And this man needed one pass and one pass only for 10 yards. Touchdown to Traylon Ray. Traylon Ray Tutty. Also, the stiff arm that he had on his design quarterback run.
It was a truck, and he flattened him. I don't remember.
Can you explain the difference between a stiff arm and a truck?
So a stiff arm.
Stiff arm is out.
I told you, casual.
I misspoke.
Casual.
I misspoke.
This
I'm asking for our fans.
Stiff arm.
For
okay,
America.
Sure.
I'm asking for America.
Stiff arm.
Okay.
Truck.
I agree. It was a truck.
Stiff
I watched
arms
that
push
play.
out.
It was a
Truck is
truck.
using your body.
Can I just say the two interceptions that Oklahoma State threw, that was the first interception was the last play I got to watch before I had to go do stuff, and then as soon as I turned the game back on,
Call that? Do you remember that?
yes, you
We
did
were
call. You
standing in
did
the
call
circle.
that.
We were
standing
standing in the
there.
circle. Alan Bowman throws, and I'm like, "That's a pick." And as soon as I
Immediately.
said it, picked off.
Immediately picked off,
Crazy.
and then as soon as we were done with our event and we pulled the phone back out, got on to watch the game. As soon as I turned that on, I see him throw another pick.
You
And
witnessed
I
both
called that
Allen Bowman
one.
picks.
I don't. You weren't sitting by me when I pulled it out, but I called that one. I was like, dude, I bet he's gonna throw another pick again.
Yeah.
So the first bit of the game to a pick to missing a section of the game and then immediately a pick when you turn it back on. That was just awesome to see as a fan.
Is great as like you said, as West Virginia fans, gives you hope because the thing weighing down West Virginia most has been the secondary.
Mm-hmm.
They have not been able to do anything. You hold Alan Bowman to how many yards did you say?
116.
116 yards on the night. That is incredible for a secondary that has not been able to hold up. You get 2 picks. Jaheim Joseph, the one by Josiah Trotter.
Yeah, just
Trotter
right.
got
It
one.
was Trotter. The one by Josiah Trotter was incredible. A little toe tap action. That was good for NFL Sunday tapes.
it was good.
Dad got to be proud for that one. That was a 2-toucher.
It was good.
Two toe tap.
Like I said, Nico Marchiol, 1 for 1, 10 yards, touchdown to Traylon Ray. C.J. Donaldson, 20 carries on the day, 77 yards, 2 tutties. Jaheim White, 19 carries for 158 yards and a tutty. 65 total carries in the game for 389 yards and 4 touchdowns, which Google told me was a WVU school record.
That is dominant. That is a
For
lot
carries.
of ground yards.
Yeah.
How much was it?
65 carries,
For
389 yards.
I don't think the rushing yards is.
No, it's not. I'm saying the carries.
65. Okay, I thought it was the second
No,
most
no,
all
no.
time, but it might have been the first.
Well, yeah, I mean, it could have been. That's what Google told me. Again, I could have searched up something weird.
Either way,
But yeah, crazy.
65 rushes, and I mean, you put up how many points did we score?
38.
It was 38 to 14.
65 rushes, and you're putting up 38 points.
Crazy.
I'll take it.
And also the time of possession difference.
Yeah, that they was similar to the Vandy
Vandy, Alabama, which I think was an exact correlation.
It's actually really close. We had
42 to 17.
Was
Yeah.
Exactly what,
was exactly
what
the same
Vandy,
thing.
Bama was. So.
I heard the announcers in the Oklahoma State game saying West Virginia has controlled the ball the most by far, and when you hang on to the ball, you can control the pace of the game, which means you can control the game, and that's exactly what they did.
And we would have had even more if it weren't for the daggone slide by Garrett Green, which I don't think should have been overturned. Irrelevant to the conversation, but
Yeah. It was irrelevant in the moment, too, because we were killing them.
yeah, we were killing him. It was late in the third, I think, but Garrett, dadgummit, which after, his presser after the game, he was like, Coach is probably not going to want to hear this, but that probably eliminates the slide for me. No sliding, which worries me because I mean, we saw him get injured on one of his scrambles.
Look, Gigi, I still want you to slide. I still want you to slide.
Just make sure if you're not past the line of scrimmage, don't slide.
Doesn't he have that big line on the ground? I'm joking.
Oh, that was actually good though. That was a good joke.
All right, can I give a special shout out to our left guard, Tomas Remack.
Almost there.
That's terrible, man. I apologize, America.
Put that on the blooper reel.
You don't need to apologize to America. You need to apologize to Tomas Remack.
Tomas.
No,
What did you even say?
Dude, I'm turning into Charles Barkley on Inside the NBA.
He's gonna make that his ringtone,
apologize to Charles.
America.
I
I apologize. Anyway, I was listening to Coos, and he was saying, I think it was PFF. He had the best O lineman grade in the country last week.
If you looked at the Big 12 highest graded roster, they take the highest graded player from each position on each team in the Big 12 and put them in there. There was like 4 or 5 guys on West Virginia. I know Wyatt and Tomas were in there. I think Jaheim Joseph might have been in it, or it was either Jaheim or Aiden Garnes. I don't remember who it was, but either way, there were a couple guys. So making improvements on the defensive end, which is what we need.
I'd say they gave him a 90 overall card. And college ultimate team on NCAA 25.
Heck yeah.
He is by far, in the game at least, the best O lineman that you can get. So
in the game?
In the game. As of now, best O lineman in the game. So shout out once again.
Tomas Remack.
There
you go.
I'm going to have to say that like 10 times.
Nailed it.
All right, now, Iowa State preview.
Yes.
It is a blackout game. Saturday night, 8 p.m. kickoff.
Wear black.
Everybody wear black.
Support the Coal Rush. It's going to be awesome.
It's a great game. Yep, it's going to be a wild game. I think Jit can I think Jit can speak on the immaculate vibes that we are about to experience on Saturday night.
Jit, talk about some vibes you're getting from the game already, and we're not even there yet.
Oh, I'm getting some vibes. So, for one, blackout game. Wear black.
Coal Rush.
Support the team.
Coal
Rush. My bad. Support the team. Okay? The uniforms, immaculate. I'm loving how they're looking. 8 p.m. game, kind of late. We're going to be there pretty late. That's okay. You know? However long it takes, the 4 of us are going to be there.
We ain't getting home until 1 in the morning.
We ain't
that might be
home
early.
till
1 might be early.
One is a wish right there. One is a wish. But
fair enough.
I might sleep on the floor in your kitchen.
Oh, gosh.
I might not leave the IPF.
Yeah.
Might not leave the IPF.
I'm just going to say the vibes in of itself are going to be really, really, I'd have to say magical in a sense. I know that's kind of like a fantasy type thing where it's like, oh, magic. But, I think they're going to be great. I have a lot of people that are going to be there to see this game that I care about, that are going to really enjoy the whole different atmosphere than it will have than most WVU games. And to kind of close out my statement here, I'm just going to have to say that it's going to be a game to remember in the sense of not just performance in the game, but I'd also have to say just being there, seeing all these, how the new lights in the stadium, the time, how the lights are going to look at night, how all these things are going to add up together, and it's just going to be
It's like too perfect for West Virginia to lose this game.
Right, I agree.
Everything
That's what I
is
meant.
set up.
We
so
said the same thing
well.
about Penn State. We said the same thing.
Yeah,
I'm not
well,
being
you know
a pessimist
what?
here.
Iowa State is 11, not
I'm
5.
not. I'm not being a pessimist here, but we did say that about Penn State.
That's fair. And I am slightly worried about us overhyping it.
Different
Yeah.
point in the season,
Right.
and
But yeah,
I think we're a much better team now. Like I think we settled into where we need to be.
We didn't have a chance to find out what type of team we were against Penn State.
yeah,
we had no time to figure it out.
This is actually part of what I think is important is Iowa State. They did go to Iowa. Kinnick Stadium's a tough place to play, and they won. But outside of that, they haven't really played anybody. Whereas West Virginia has had 3 games that have put them in the situation where there's been hype built up around it. First, it was Penn State. We all know that one. Pitt is a rivalry game. You're always going to be fired up for that one. It was on the road. And then this one, Oklahoma State, even though they had back-to-back losses, people weren't counting them out just yet. So they've been on the stage. They've been in the top-level stages. And now I think that the jitters are out regardless of the hype we're putting on the Coal Rush.
Yep. I agree. I'm with Jit in the fact that the vibes, I think, are going to play the biggest part in this game.
It's going to be in an incredible atmosphere.
Yeah,
That's for sure.
I can't wait. And it's going to be an awesome game. Now, let's break down into a little more statistical standpoint for this game.
Some of the keys.
Some of the keys. Can the WVU defense find momentum and get a similar performance to what they had against Oklahoma State? Can they keep the Cyclone offense off the field?
What I think is important to note is that Avery Johnson, his passing game has struggled, and they've had to lean on DJ Giddens and Dylan Edwards' legs, and then obviously Avery Johnson's legs, which last week we were able.
What about Kansas State?
Yeah.
Iowa State.
You looking ahead?
Yeah, apparently I am.
He's looking ahead.
My bad. No, but I am saying this. Yeah, what am I talking about?
I mean, you're speaking facts for the wrong week.
That's true.
I think you're just looking ahead a little bit.
Preview to next week's show. My bad, boss.
Make sure to like
Should
and
we make
subscribe.
Should we make a
But
blooper reel, America?
The same thing stands, though, for Jalen Jackson and I think his name's Abu Sama. Yes. Yeah, Abu Sama. A tandem in the running back. Rocco Beck's, his legs are still not as, known as Avery Johnson's or Garrett Green's, but still not a terrible scrambler. So in the same way that I was saying, if you can shut down the run game, now that obviously doesn't seem ideal because the pass defense has been questionable for West Virginia, and Iowa State has 2 of the best receivers in the league, in Jalen Noel and I can't remember his name. Give me a second. Somebody else can go. Jaden Higgins, Jalen Noel, and Jaden Higgins. That's what it was.
Okay. Me personally, I will be honest and say I don't know that much about Iowa State's personnel.
Yep.
I don't know that much about their personnel, but what I can say is from the highlights that I've watched, they're legit.
Man, I can't believe I was talking about Kansas State.
Hey, we can save that for next week.
Blooper
It's
reel.
okay.
Put it in.
Dude, America, should we make a blooper reel? I think yes. They are going to happen a lot.
I'm here for it.
Anyway, ISU's, Iowa State's, I don't know why I say ISU, just because it's written down on the freaking TV. Iowa State's front 7 has been questionable. Can WVU find the run game again and keep the defense on its heels?
Yes, I think that is the most important thing. They're, like you said, the front 7, it's not been great. It hasn't been bad, but it has not been great. And you want to keep this Iowa State offense off the field. So if we can find a way to counter that and keep the offense, the West Virginia offense, on the field like we did against Oklahoma State, I won't think it'd be quite a differential as 42-17 like it was last week. But if you can find a way to keep the offense on the field, Garrett Green can orchestrate the offense and score points in the red zone, which is important, you will come out of this game a winner. Now, if you can't run the ball and you're going to force Gigi to throw down the field, I don't think you win a shootout. Jalen Noel and Jaden Higgins are too good. Rocco Beck. This is like a legacy game for Rocco Beck, by the way. His dad played at West Virginia.
Oh,
He got.
I believe they're adding his dad to some form of Hall of Fame
Yeah. Is it this week?
this week
So, like I
Okay.
said,
at the game,
legacy game.
which
So,
is pretty. I think that's pretty cool.
I think it is too. If we can't keep their offense on the field, and Jalen Noel, Jaden Higgins, Abu Sama, they all get going, Jalen Jackson, Rocco Becht, it ain't going to be good.
all right. Yeah, our secondary has to build that momentum that we had against Oklahoma State.
Yeah.
Which is easier said than done. Whenever you have Alan Bowman struggling the way he has been, and then you have to face a 5-0 Iowa State team.
Yeah.
It's a different challenge, but I feel like we're up to it. We've been building that momentum. And also we need to talk about our receivers. We have not yet seen a big game from Jaden Bray
Or
And-
Justin Robinson.
or Justin Robinson.
He had that one catch, which, to his defense, Justin Robinson has been injured, and I think he's coming back. And Jaden Bray, I saw something that he was on the sidelines with the right knee brace on. So he could be slightly injured as well or banged up.
Okay.
But I think it's time for both of those receivers to step up, especially Justin Robinson. I think Justin Robinson is 6'4", big, deep threat. I mean, we saw the game he had against Pitt. Regardless of the face mask, which it might have been, it was still an incredible catch.
Oh, that was an insane
If
catch.
Hudson Clement, Traylon Ray, and one of either Justin Robinson or Jaden Bray can step up, give Garrett somewhere to throw the ball, the offense can look even better.
I agree. They're both definitely X factors.
Yeah.
By the way, we got to go to the Pitt game. We will not be going to any other away games. Possibly Cincinnati. We may
Do
go to
we
that
have
game.
anything to do that week?
Huh?
Do we have anything to do that weekend?
I don't think so.
That might be one of our off weeks.
Yeah.
We might
Cin-
go to Cincinnati then.
Cincinnati's a possibility. But we got to go to Pitt, and we witnessed everything firsthand, which was good and bad.
It was a good game.
We don't talk about it.
There was some stuff we didn't like.
We don't talk about it.
All right.
But the last thing I want to say for the keys to the game. First of all, Neil, keep Jordan Presley. Not Presley. Dude, I'm off today. It's Jordan Leslie.
Yeah.
What am I thinking?
I know that
Presley.
guy. I don't know.
I don't know,
Press
man.
Virginia, maybe.
We just talked about. There's a receiver on Oklahoma State, Brendan Presley. So I'm thinking of Presley. Jordan Leslie, stay in the box, please. Stay in the press box. The past 2 games, you have put together a competent defense, and it has worked. So please, Jordan Leslie, stay in the press box and call the defense from up there.
You think it's just because he can see the field better from up there?
I think that's the main reason.
I think every coordinator should be in the office. Chad Scott, get up there.
You see him in the NFL,
I mean,
man. All the
Chad Scott
coordinators
doesn't
are
call
up there.
the
Yeah, I feel like that makes sense. Just being able to,
Yeah.
eye in the sky, right?
Before we go and talk about our score predictions and our official picks, my key to the game is something we've already talked about, but it is something that I cannot stress enough. Run the ball. Run. I'm not saying we got to have 65 carries. You're not
I
gonna,
think we should. Let's go.
If it's
70.
working,
If
I
it's
would not
working,
stop it at
Let's
all.
shoot for 70.
But I was going to say, I don't think it's realistic that WVU gets 389 yards on this Iowa State defense.
No, not entirely.
Um,
but I still think we're going to run the ball.
I'd
against
say
the front seven
250.
that's been questionable.
I say 250 is obtainable.
250 total yards or rushing yards?
Well, rushing yards.
Okay. Yeah.
The game will be won in the trenches for the offense for West Virginia. If our offensive line and running game can beat out Iowa State's front seven, which is very likely to happen, we can win the game. And then the other side is when Iowa State's offense is on the field, can you stop their downfield passing? Those are the 2 major points that you've got to get figured out.
Fair enough. What are you thinking, Matt?
Yeah, I like that. I think West Virginia has done extremely well against better teams, some of the better teams that we've played. If we score early, and like you were saying, you don't know if we'll win a shootout. We did against Kansas.
This is true.
But that's not a one-off per se. But we haven't really been in that situation. Although, I mean, I guess we were at Pitt. I don't know. You know what I mean. I think if we score well and just play solid defense the whole time, we're going to be okay. Score early also. You don't want to have a whole half where you're not doing anything offensively. And then time management is the thing. You want to, like we were talking about Vanderbilt and Alabama about who has time of possession. I think that makes a big difference when you come into this game as well. So,
Definitely.
I mean, let's see. ESPN has Iowa State winning by 3. Because of the atmosphere, I mean, if you want to do the picks now.
Yep.
I think the Mountaineers take it.
Yep. Let's move on to the picks. So, again, this is me being completely realistic here. 99% realistic. I think Dub V comes out with the dub in this game. I say 34-27.
34,
We win. We win by a score. It's going to be a close game. Both offenses, I think, are going to roll at some point in the game. I think both offenses are going to roll. But I think we use the run game and we use our tempo offense to get the edge on this Iowa State defense, and we come out with a win. And potentially, for the first time in Neil Brown's coaching tenure at West Virginia, we could be ranked.
Finally. So, after us all picking West Virginia last week, although we did win, slightly unrealistic for all of us to pick West Virginia, I have dubbed myself the pessimist of the group.
God.
But I'm picking West Virginia.
Oh, man.
I like that.
Going forward, if I genuinely think West Virginia's going to lose the game, like last week, I should have picked Oklahoma State to win. Oklahoma State to win. I think they would have. That's what my mind was saying.
They would have won if you picked them.
No, my mind was saying that Oklahoma State was going to win. I was just being an optimist. I'm going to play the pessimist of the group. But this game, Coal Rush, 8 p.m. Morgantown is a different place at night. I think West Virginia wins. I have written up there 34-31. I'm going to change that to 24-27 West Virginia in walk-off field goal fashion. We've not had that happen since, I believe, Oklahoma 2022 was the last time.
Who's
We
our
were there.
kicker? Michael Hayes?
That was a very, yeah.
No, that was Casey Legg, wasn't it?
No, I'm saying who's our kicker now.
Yeah, Michael Hayes.
Yeah.
That was a very
nice
rainy
guy.
game. I remember that game. It was cold.
It's been a long time since we've had a walk-off field goal or a game-winning field goal. So I think it's tied late. Garrett Green has the balls in his hands. Pause.
Pause.
That's coming out. That's how we're not putting
No,
it.
blooper reel.
God.
No, put it in the
All
blooper
right,
reel.
we'll keep it in. Garrett Green will have the ball in his hands. Yo, just move on. 24-27. Garrett Green's going to have the ball in his hands. He's going to drive down the field. It's going to be like 3rd and 4 with 2 seconds, and we're going to win.
I think it'll be a higher scoring game than that.
Ooh, okay.
Iowa State's got a good defense. That's why I lowered my score.
No, that's true. I don't know. Let me think here. I think
Cyclones, they got nothing on GG, baby. That's all I'm saying.
I think we'll do really well. It is a huge difference having a night game, a real night game.
8 p.m.
An 8 p.m. start is awesome for us. Obviously, that helps out the people in Central Time, or blah blah blah. But I think that's huge for the stadium, for all the people there. So it should be an awesome game to watch. I think we take them by 5.
He's going to have another
I got to
score
think of
like
how
last-
to add up touchdowns and kicks and stuff to win by 5.
23-12.
Yeah, yeah. What did I say the other time? Like 11
It
to
was like
17.
It was
It was
weird.
25 to something.
Yeah, no, would you say 20? I like.
said 24-27.
I'm thinking like 31 to 26.
That
26 is a weird
a
score.
weird one.
They're getting
I
a
guess-
safety then.
But I
So,
like.
No,
I
not
like that
necessarily.
score.
They could just kick a bunch of field goals.
We'll see.
It
But
could
I
be-
think-
that-
I think it'll
because you
be-
can get 10 with a touchdown and
Iowa
field
State
goals.
will probably
Yeah.
score every quarter, at least one touchdown, and I think we'll have like 1 touchdown, 2 touchdowns, nothing, 2 touchdowns. You know what I mean?
Okay.
a one bad quarter.
Well, not necessarily bad, but
They
just
just held the ball a little longer.
yeah.
All right. So far, all three of us have Dub V.
The Mountaineers.
Yep. We have the Mountaineers. All right,
Back
Jit.
to Jitster.
What do you got for us? Score prediction, vibes, winner.
So all I'm gonna have to say is, I do agree with Matt. You gotta score early. I know you said that earlier, but I gotta hear that fight song a lot in the beginning, and then I kind of get sick of it at the end. You know what I mean?
We better get sick of this fight song.
I would
at
love
the
to
end.
It's important to
I'm gonna want to get sick
get some
of it.
momentum.
I want to get sick of Hail West at the end. I'm sorry. I want to get really sick of it because I want
right.
to hear it over and over and over.
Will it happen? Will it happen?
I hope so.
Okay.
My prediction is WVU.
What's that score?
I'm not well with numbers. I was not in the great math class for a while.
Just throw one out there.
I'm thinking
40-72.
Oh, we got it. We got it.
nah, I think it's gonna be like, I don't know, WVU like 32, and then like I think I was gonna be like 28.
I will
That's not
revise
a
my
bad one.
score.
I like that.
I will
32,
revise my
28 's a good
score.
one.
I like 35-28.
Did you say the first time?
Okay.
31-26. Which I was adding them up there in my head.
So you're
thinking,
saying we don't
win by a score.
kick a field goal.
38-28 is my final. I'm cutting it off.
I think we
38-28.
score 38 points on the Iowa State defense that's been top
Why
of the
not?
country.
Why not?
Somewhere towards the top of the country.
Coal rush, baby.
If we lose in these uniforms,
Oh,
it's
man.
going to be a great day.
For those of you going to the game, show up, be loud, be rowdy, wear black, Coal Rush.
Can we get some
support
eye
the
black?
team.
For those of you who stayed until the end of the Kansas game, after the weather delay, it was loud, it was rowdy. We need you there.
That-
the team needs you there.
The
You
people
were
who stayed,
extremely loud.
the people who stayed at Kansas were louder than when the entire stadium was full at the beginning of the game.
Yes,
So you're true patriots. We love you.
America.
We were there.
We were there.
We were there.
We had to be there.
It was a
But-
great
But we
game.
were there.
It was a
I
great
wouldn't
game.
have left anyway.
I wouldn't have left.
Nears, baby. Roll
Roll
Nears.
nears.
I like
All
it.
right, so I think that that rounds things up for us, doesn't it? All right,
I think it does.
this has been it from all four of us from the Coal Country Podcast, our first official episode.
Yep.
All right, go follow our socials, follow our Instagram, follow our Facebook. Both of those links will be in the description of the YouTube video. Also, go give Tyler's YouTube edit channel a subscribe.
Yes.
You recently made an Oklahoma State video.
Yeah, I made one for Oklahoma State. I made it a little later, so it hasn't been doing as well. I probably won't get to making one for Iowa State. We're a little late in the week for me to start, but in the future.
Yep, definitely. We're gonna exchange both channels there to get as much exposure as possible.
Yep.
It's gonna work. It is gonna work. All right. Well, once again, from me, from Tyler, from Matt, from Max. See you later. See you on the next episode.
Peace out. We love you, America.